Hey, it's Benji Cole, son of Al Cole from CBS Radio, welcoming you to another edition of People of Distinction. The talk that gives an in-depth view of some of the most dynamic, intelligent, and successful people on the planet. Run to our website, peopleofdistinction.org, for more info, or you can email me directly at benji@alcoleenterprises.com. And on the line with us today, we have Edwin Torres. We'll be discussing his new book, Real Life Fiction, available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Edwin was brought to People of Distinction today by some of the best movers in the business, Ingress Advertising Publishing. If you have a book that you'd like moved, you got to move it through Ingress. You can find them at ingressadvertising.com. And guys, listen, I'm so excited to have Edwin here on the line with us because the book that we're going to be discussing, Real Life Fiction, is such a powerful narrative, right? And it's such a pertinent narrative. And listen, it's a poetry book, and it's comprised of, real life stories. But of course, as the title states, it's going to have some fictional narratives in there as well. But really, the underlying theme, one of the main messages that is brought up in this book is really to just always be aware, right? To question everything. And at the end of the day, listen, certain things may seem one way, but that doesn't necessarily mean that is. And listen, I mean, isn't that just such a great message for life, right? Just questioning everything. And just because something seems one way doesn't necessarily mean that it is. And, it's such a profound message there. And I'm so excited to have Edwin here on the line with us. And listen, he's going to be able to vocalize this much, much better than I ever could. So without further ado, let's jump right in and let's invite him here onto the line. Edwin, thank you so much for being with us today, man. We truly appreciate you being a guest with us on People of Distinction. How are you?
Doing well. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, like I said, man, we're definitely looking forward to it. And, before we jump into the book, let's, hold off just slightly. Tell us a little bit about yourself, man. Tell us about your background.
Sure. I'm Edwin Torres. I was born on July 2nd, 1983. I was actually born in Santa Fe de Bogota, Colombia. I came to the United States at the age of 3 with my mother and my sister and my older brother. They're both older than I am, so I'm the youngest sibling. And I currently reside in Westchester, New York.
Absolutely. Fellow East Coaster. I like it.
Yes.
There it is. Beautiful, man. Well, fantastic. So thank you for, the brief background there. Now let's jump right into the book, Real Life Fiction. Before we even really go into in depth with it, let's just start off with a brief synopsis. Tell us a little bit about the book.
Well, the book is basically it's 49 poems. They're written kind of like in a lyrical form. So I guess for those people who like hip hop or rap, this book is definitely for them. And if you don't like it, just read it anyway. And if you do and you don't like it, then, no grudges felt. The same way I can embrace the good, I accept the bad.
Absolutely.
So, no feelings hurt, But yeah, it's 49 poems. They're written, like I said, in a hip-hop form. And they talk about basically, just events that go on in real life. Some of them are fiction. Some of them are, real life. And they're meant to inspire people. To, like you said before, question everything, look beyond what is shown or beyond what you see.
Absolutely. Yeah. Now, following off of that, we know a little bit about the book now and what we're going to expect. The title of the book, Real Life Fiction, I mean, it's such an intriguing title. Now, from hearing you discuss what the book's about, I mean, I think we can assume where that title comes from. But listen, I'm sure you heard the old adage, you know what happens when you assume, right? And we have you here on the line to go ahead and explain that to us. I mean, how did you develop that particular title for your book and develop that creatively?
Well, I wanted something that would kind of stand out. To be honest with you, I've never been good at picking names. So this was a bit of a challenge for me. So What I usually do is when I name something, like even my poems, when I name them, I usually try to give them something that a title that pertains to what I wrote.
Absolutely.
And being that some of these are based on real life events and fiction, I figure like that was the proper title. I know I kind of sound like an oxymoron with that title, but I figured that was the most proper title.
Yeah, no, and listen, I mean, first and foremost, before we even did the pre-screening call and before I was able to get on the phone and and discuss things with you, it's definitely a catchy title, real life fiction. It grabs your attention, and it really kind of,
Yes.
it perks your ears up a little bit, and you wanna read into it more. And I think from an author standpoint, from a writing standpoint, that is exactly what you want your readers to do, right? You want something that's going to grab their attention and really spark their interests, and you definitely accomplish that with the title Real Life Fiction. So next question that I have, let's talk about your inspiration. Now, this is a question that always takes so many different forms, right? But first and foremost, I mean, what inspired you to write this particular book, Real Life Fiction? And then really, what inspired you to become a writer? I mean, was this something that you always saw yourself doing from a very early age? Was writing always an escape for you? Talk to our listening audience about really what inspired you to embark upon this journey, and then also what inspired you to create this narrative.
Right. So what inspired me to write this book was, things that go on in real life and, fictional things. I enjoy writing. It's something I've been doing for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I've always been told I was a good writer, even when I was in high school by my teachers, so it kind of made sense, to do it. But I first started writing when I was 16, but I never really thought about making a book until maybe like a couple years ago. I would say maybe like 2018. That's when I became inspired to write a book.
Mm-hmm.
What inspired me was, the fact that you would usually send my poems like to my sister or a friend or whatever, and then they always tell me, they're like, look, why don't you record this stuff? And I've never been one, to like, try to like recite my poems out loud. Like I've never been to open mics or anything. It's just because, I'm kind of shy,
Absolutely.
So I figured, the best way to put myself out there is just put it in writing and publish it.
What's great about what you said, first and foremost, man, thank you for sharing. And what's great about what you said is it's something that we can all relate to, right? Whether you're an artist or not, really putting yourself out there, showing yourself without any, masks or filters or guys disguise over it. That's always a very tough thing to do, right? I mean, that's not easy. And especially
Right.
being an artist and having these poems that you're creating and, you're talking about, it was just really something that you started off as just, you like to write, and this was just really a hobby of yours. And then it got to the point where, you're starting to send it to, family and friends and, utilizing it that way. To put it, that's one thing, right? Because yes, you're allowing other people to see your personal work, which is still difficult in and of itself, but they're family and friends. So that they care about you and there's a different type of relationship.
Right.
Putting it into a book form and actually pushing it out for the public and now for the masses to be able to see is much, much different and much more challenging. So right off the bat, being a fellow artist myself, I'm not a writer, I'm an actor and a filmmaker based here in Los Angeles. But, listen, I know how hard it is to really be able to, again, put yourself out there and leave yourself susceptible to criticism and leave yourself susceptible to other people's, estimation that way. It's not a very easy thing to do. So it's commendable, man, that you've been able to kind of formulate and put that out there that way. Now, you said that you started off from a teenager just kind of writing and, you got a lot of praise in terms of being a writer there. Why did you feel that this book was something that needed to be written? Or was it really just something, again, that, people over time just kept telling you, hey, you should put this into book, and then you just finally took their advice?
Well, actually, to be honest with you, it was kind of like a mix of both. It was a little bit of people telling me like, yeah, yeah, get your stuff out there, put your
Mm-hmm.
name out there, make yourself known. It was also, I felt like I wanted to give people a message like this is my way of trying to make a difference. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah. Well.
So that was really it. I wanted to make a difference. Get my stuff out there. I do this. Like I said, I also do it in Spanish. So I believe that I can reach a broader audience simply because of the bilingual, aspect.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Yeah. Well, everybody has a story to tell, and everybody has a voice, and
Exactly.
you're giving your voice to the public there, but hopefully through your story, and through this story, real life fiction, you'll inspire more people to find their voice and again put it out there for the public. Guys, again, here on the line with Edwin Torres, we're discussing real life fiction available on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. Now, Edwin, next question that I have is really specific to, of course, this is a poetry book, right? Now, how did you get started with writing poetry? I mean, were there like specific poets that inspired you, or you say that a lot of the poetry that you have in your book is kind of almost like a hip hop feel. So maybe that has some type of influence on your creative writing that way. How did you get started writing poetry?
Well, absolutely. Hip hop was an inspiration of mine. I would have to say, in terms of poets, I would say my favorite one that really inspired me to actually start writing was Tupac, because I'm a big,
Mm-hmm.
Tupac fan. So, in reality, and when I say that he inspired me, I don't mean like that he inspired me and then somebody's gonna read it and then say, oh, Tupac said this. No, it's I don't bite off anyone. I don't take anyone's stuff. I try to always be as original as possible.
Absolutely.
As original as possible. I don't like to, some stuff they might read under that they might not understand, but it's like it was maybe an aspect from my life.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that's probably why, the reader. But yeah, definitely I would say, hip hop inspired me. I started listening to hip hop, in the 90s. So I was in high school back then, and that's really when I started writing. That's really what got me started.
Absolutely. Yeah, listen, man, I'm a big Tupac fan as well. His music, but also his poetry, right? The Rose That Grew from the
Oh, absolutely.
Concrete.
Concrete, yes.
Absolutely. I remember reading that book and reading a lot of his poetry that he had written, and absolutely, he was fantastic. He was amazing in so many different areas and aspects of his life. So I can definitely relate, and it's great that you bring that up that way. Now, next question that we really want to go into is, kind of tying this particular book up, because I know you have another title that we're going to quickly discuss, but really tying up this one, and I think we've already started to go into it, but just to make sure that there's no confusion, what would you say is the central message that you really want to get across and you really want our listening audience here at People of Distinction to know and pull from this interview about real life fiction?
Basically, the number one message is basically, just like you said before, things aren't always how they seem. Look beyond what's shown, and just basically, be aware of your surroundings. The world, life. Sometimes if life throws you a fastball, you got to swing.
Absolutely. Yep, roll
Yeah.
with it. Absolutely, man. That's fantastic. Guys, one last time here on the line with Edwin Torres. We just finished discussing his book, Real Life Fiction, again, available on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. But guys, that's not it, right? Edwin has just finished writing, or is still in the process of writing, his second book. It's set to be released sometime this upcoming year. We don't have a very specific date on that yet, but be on the lookout for it because it's going to be out there very, very soon. Edwin, talk to us about your second title, please.
Sure. So my second title is actually a title in Spanish. It's all in Spanish. Um, and it's basically the same. Oh, it's in the same style of writing as real life fiction. Um, it's like the hip hop form in Spanish. But that title, I made it like to reach my Spanish audience,
Mm-hmm.
my Hispanic brothers and sisters out there. So that's for them, and it's basically you could say it's kind of like a replica of the first one, but it's in Spanish.
Absolutely.
That one I did make a little bit shorter, so it's not going to be as long as this as real life fiction. But I have a lot of the same concepts from real life fiction. They're just like I said, they're just in a different language. And the title of that one is going to be called Poesías de mi mente, Historias del presente. That might have been a little difficult for those of you who don't speak Spanish or understand Spanish, but that's the title of the book.
There it is. Well, listen, for anybody that it was difficult for, that should just be more of an incentive to learn Spanish, right? I know it was for me.
Absolutely.
Definitely was for me. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Edwin, listen, man, we appreciate it. And what I love to do with every author that I have here on People of Distinction is I always love to pay it forward, right? Again, being a fellow artist myself, there's always more to strive for and there's always more to achieve. So, of course, just because the journey isn't over doesn't mean we can't put out advice and really help out, our younger audience members that are looking to embark upon a similar journey. Now, really, in comparison to you, Edwin, you've already published your first book. You have your second one getting ready to get published very, very soon. What is some advice that you can give to our younger audience members, our newer writers, or people that want to become authors and ready to embark upon this journey? What type of advice can you pass on to them?
Well, basically, the only advice I can give younger writers, just be real and be creative. Talk about things that mean something. Anybody can just write anything. And then portray it as oh, this is poetry. But it needs to have meaning. Like all poetry, there's a meaning behind it.
Mm-hmm.
It's an allegory. And even if it's made up, you can't. Maybe some people don't like to talk about stuff in real life. Be creative. That's my advice. Be real and be creative.
Wonderful.
That's it. Just have it have a meaning, and if it doesn't necessarily need to rhyme, but if you can make it rhyme, then hey, more power to you.
Absolutely. Yeah, man. Listen, as we said before, when we were talking about real life fiction, everybody has a voice, right? And
yep.
What's beautiful about that saying is my voice sounds different than yours, right? And my message and what relates to me could be completely different from yours, but there's beauty in the differences, right. And really not shying away from that when it comes to embarking upon your journey that way. And guys, like Edwin just said, write about something that's passionate to you, right? And really that's where your voice lies, is when you find something that means so much to you as the individual, the ideas and the creativity and the passion will just naturally come out because it's something, of course, that already is applicable and something that already is something that you care a lot about. Fantastic. Guys, again, lastly, Edwin Torres on the line. We just finished discussing real life fiction, available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Get out there, pick up a copy. We're spending a lot of time at home right now, so there's really no reason why you shouldn't get out there. Get on Amazon, get on Barnes & Noble. You don't even have to leave the comfort of your own home. You definitely will not be disappointed. Get out there and pick up the book. Edwin, thank you so much for bringing this book to our table, man. We truly appreciated it.
Thank you for having me. Always a pleasure. I felt like I was listening to the radio because you really do it, man. You're really good at what you do.